The rain poured relentlessly against the window, an almost deafening rhythm that echoed throughout the house. As the wind howled outside, the storm seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. I sat there frozen, my eyes fixed on the window, trying to drown out the chaos outside. But then it came, a single knock, a soft, almost imperceptible knock, as though someone was gently tapping on the glass. I looked around, my heart racing. The house was supposed to be empty, just me and the storm. No one could have come here, not in this weather. I stood up slowly, every step heavier than the last. My feet felt like they were glued to the floor, yet I couldn't ignore the growing curiosity gnawing at me. Who was outside? I walked cautiously toward the window, my hands trembling as I reached for the curtains. There, in the darkness of the storm, I saw nothing, just the endless sheets of rain and the blurry outlines of trees swaying violently in the wind. But the knock, it had come from here, from this very window. I turned away from the window, confused and unsettled. But before I could move back, I heard it again. A knock, this time louder, more urgent. The knock echoed through the room, sending chills down my spine. It wasn't just outside. It was here, in the room with me. My breath hitched. I rushed to the door, but just as I reached out to grab the handle, I hesitated. Was it my imagination? I shook my head. It couldn't be. But as I opened the door, nothing. No one stood there. Only the darkness of the storm outside, relentless and cold. I sighed with relief and was about to close the door when I heard it. Soft, almost like a whisper. "Why did you leave me?" The voice was faint, yet unmistakable. My heart stopped, and I froze. I knew that voice. It couldn't be. "Clara," I whispered, almost to myself. It couldn't be her. She had drowned years ago, lost to the stormy creek. But the voice sounded so real, so familiar. I turned around, my eyes scanning the room for any sign of her. Then, in the corner of my eye, I saw her, Clara, standing there in the doorway, her drenched clothes clinging to her pale skin, her eyes hollow and vacant. "Clara, my voice faltered. This couldn't be happening. She stepped forward, and I felt a cold breeze rush past me, as though the very air had turned frozen. "You left me," she said, her voice shaking. "You promised me you would never leave." The words cut through me like ice, each one more painful than the last. My knees buckled, and I sank to the floor, unable to speak. The memories of that night came flooding back. The storm, the rain, the creek, and how I ran away, leaving Clara behind. I could never forget it, and now she was here to make sure I never would. Clara's voice grew louder, more desperate. "You left me to die. Why did you leave me?" Her words echoed through the room, filling the space with an oppressive weight. I wanted to apologize, to explain, but my voice failed me. How could I? There were no words that could make up for what I had done. "I didn't mean to," I whispered, but it was no use. The storm outside seemed to grow in intensity, mirroring the fury that Clara was radiating. Then, as suddenly as she had appeared, Clara stopped. The storm outside ceased, and the room grew eerily quiet. She took one last look at me, her eyes filled with an unspeakable sorrow, and then, just as I reached out to her, she vanished. I stood there, heart racing, gasping for air. The house felt empty now, hollow, and all I could hear was the faint whistle of the wind. Had it been real? Was Clara really there, or was it just a figment of my guilt-ridden mind? But even as I stood there, I could hear it, a whisper in the wind, soft but clear. "You will never escape." The storm returned, louder than before, as though it had never ceased. But this time, it wasn't just rain that fell. It was a reminder of the past that could never be forgotten. No matter how much I tried to escape.